All right, testing, 1, 2, 3 for this emergency. Not really an emergency, but you get my point. Stream. How are we doing? Give it a few minutes to see people show up since we are going to be doing hello. A bit of a quick impromptu stream. One that I wasn't anticipating, but since I have the house to myself, I figured, you know what, let's take advantage. Because whenever the house is alone and I'm the only one home, I figured, you know what, I gotta take advantage. Either I have to film something, or I have to do a stream. Hugo Giovanni, welcome to stream. Whenever the house is by itself, I'm always like, okay, I need to do something. I need to create content of somehow. And here's the thing, is like earlier today, I actually already shot a video that I was prepped for. The other things that I want to shoot for, CM Brock, welcome to stream. The other stuff that I wanted to shoot content for, I'm not prepped. One of which is just going to be a short, but it's going to be on the newest issue of Batman 2025, the Matt Fraction Jimenez book that's currently running right now. But it's going to be a short because I'm no longer going to be doing long videos of those comic issues, since A, I'm getting a little tired of doing the monthly, and B, it sounds like you guys are getting tired of it as well. They don't do very well view-wise. So I'm like, you know what, just to kind of expedite the process, I'm just going to do a short. However, the only reason why I haven't done it is because I haven't read the issue. I'm planning on reading it tonight. And then the other video that I wanted to make, I don't want to do it just yet because I feel like I need to spend more time with the thing that I'm playing. Okay, I don't think it's an NDA. I don't think it's under NDA or anything like that because they said that they're doing it, so I guess we're fine. I don't know if I said hi already, but CM Bronk, welcome. I think I did already. It's been a minute since I've streamed, guys. So you might have to give me just a little bit of patience because it's been a minute. It's been a minute, and there's enough has happened in the news pertaining to DC, pertaining to McFarlane Toys / Marvel Legends that could kind of be tackled in one fell swoop. And then ongoing right now, honestly, is stuff also happening overseas in regards to Inart and LPZZ, because they are slowly showing just how much more they are currently cooking right now. So I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to pull it up adequately, since most of the stuff that I've been able to find in regards to that has actually been on Reddit. But one of the things that has happened since the last time I streamed was that, quick side tangent, I got banned on Reddit. I got my account got suspended, the traditional account that I would always use. And the reason for why I got suspended is because, and it's funny because this was happening in real time when I was next to my girlfriend, and even I had to show her, like, hey, what the fuck is this? And basically, I got like hacked. Is this my current account? Is this the correct one? Yes, it is. Okay, good. All right, this is the correct one. Good. Yeah, I got hacked, and it started, and the only reason why I knew is because I went on Reddit because I wanted to show her like a funny meme, and I noticed I had like 12, 13 notifications, and I'm like, all right, I'm not that active. I know for a fact I'm not that active. And when I checked to see those notifications, it was nothing but just corn. You know, because that's what they say to not get demonetized. Corn. Yeah, I'm like, oh, God. Corn being posted on corn subreddits. I was like, are you kidding me? And I'm like, yeah, I'm getting hacked. There's no way that this... And I tried to like immediately change password, immediately hit up Reddit to be like, hey, can you guys do something about this? And I never got a hold of a human being to tell me otherwise the instructions on how to get my account back. And before I could even get a hold of someone, Reddit through their auto moderation system, whatever you want to call it, immediately suspended my account, which meant that I couldn't post anything on any subreddits, even the ones that I genuinely do follow, like the McFarlane one, the Mayfix one, the Marvel Legends one. I couldn't post comments on other people's posts, whether it be of the subreddits that I follow or random subreddits that I simply just pay attention to, like funny dog ones and stuff like that. Couldn't do anything. I'm like, all right, so I had to like switch to a different account. So hopefully this one will help me out in regards to some of the subjects that I'm going to be talking about. What I'm hoping to be brief, since the reason for why I'm streaming this late on a Saturday night is because I've been kind of itching to stream, but to be honest, news have been kind of slow up until I want to say this week, which is why I haven't streamed in probably somewhere around the cusp of like a month or so. And like I said, for like a couple of weeks, it was slow. It was dead. And now there's enough of a combination of big headlines that I can package in for at least a good hour and a half long show. And I'm like, all right, let me stream now since my parents are gone. I have the house to myself. I can talk freely without constant interruptions and questions from over here. And free flow with you guys. And there's enough topics to talk about. Because, like I said, for the longest time, there really wasn't anything. And also because when they're gone, usually I film content. I film the actual, like, long-form videos, like the traditional action figure reviews and stuff. But I already shot the one that I was going to shoot today. And apart from that, I'm not prepped for anything else. I literally need more time to prep myself for other things. So I'm like, all right, apart from the one video that I already shot, what else can I talk about? So this week, Netflix buys Warner Brothers / DC, depressing virtually everybody. As CM Bronk points out in the chat, McFarlane not only announces a 220... Is that thing still up for pre-order? Anyways, as I pull this up, just to kind of have it loaded here on the side, McFarlane announced... It's still up for pre-order. McFarlane announces a $225 Batcave, along with a panel that they had in Brazil at CCXP. Marvel Legends themselves also has a panel at CCXP that also has its own point of contention that I want to talk about real quick. So I'm practically gonna tackle both of them since they both had panels at that CCXP convention in Brazil, and they both kind of have a similar problem. And then we'll use that as a segue to then catapult us to what's going on right now in China during, I think it's Singapore Comic-Con. I think that's what it's called. Let me check. Because I think Inart themselves even posted about it. Here we go. SGCC, yeah. Singapore Comic-Con at Sands Expo and Convention Center. That not only is being attended by Inart, but also LPZZ. So it seems like we might just be having yet another showdown from them. Or at least Inart for sure is there. I would be genuinely surprised if LPZZ is not attending. I could have sworn I read somewhere that LPZZ is also attending. But let me double check. Let me actually go to their Reddit to see if anybody has posted photos from them. So far, nothing. So I guess we're not really having a showdown. Unless something happens while we're streaming. But I doubt it. Okay, well, we'll see. But I guess at the top of that docket, something that I know that probably some people are kind of sick of talking about, so I'm gonna breeze through it. Because I'm not that big of an insider. I just know... Let me see if there's like a way to kind of pull the cliff notes, so to speak. Let me see. Here we go. Thanks to New York Times, although something tells me that they're about to fucking As soon as I'm done scrolling with halfway through scrolling this, they're probably gonna block me and be like, "Oh, if you want to read the rest of the article, you gotta pay like $20 a month." So yeah, I don't know how much of you guys know, but if you haven't already heard or if you've been under a rock, Netflix actually won the bid to buy Warner Brothers Discovery, this is the official name for them, with $82.7 billion deal. It's funny because also being a gamer and kind of knowing at least a few of the comings and goings of the gaming industry, this is genuinely reminding me, to an extent, kind of reminding me about what went down with Xbox buying Activision, which in turn meant that they were buying Activision Blizzard, which means anything that's under the Activision umbrella, Blizzard umbrella, whether it be World of Warcraft, Diablo, but then of course Call of Duty, and everything else in between, they pretty much own. Have they done fuck with it whatsoever? Not really, but that's a whole nother tangent. It's just that scenario is pretty much what's kind of reminding me a little bit of this. And I guess it's very difficult to not echo the same sentiment as what other people have been feeling, which is that it really is starting to feel like a monopoly. It's also kind of, if you want to throw it back even a little further, it's when Disney bought both Lucasfilm, which meant Star Wars, and Fox, which meant pretty much anything that's under Fox, which is why right now anything that's Predator related or Alien related is officially, even though they won't put it on the branding, it's officially Disney. Anything that's Avatar is officially Disney. Anything that's Marvel and Star Wars is Disney. It's that. So now anything that's DC is technically Netflix. Anything that's Harry Potter is technically Netflix. So I'm like, what's gonna happen with HBO Max? And I understand that right now officially they did like with the quickness. The very next thing that they mentioned in the headlines is that apparently they're still ironing out those terms, because I broke the news to my girlfriend. She surprisingly did not know about this yesterday. We went out for a drive. And while we were driving, I told her, "Did you hear about Netflix?" And she's like, "No, is it shutting down or something?" And I'm like, "They bought Warner Brothers." And she was like, "The fuck? Like, Warner Brothers, like the Warner Brothers?" I'm like, "Yeah." And she's like, "That means Harry Potter?" And I'm like, "Harry Potter, DC, Mortal Kombat, possibly in the gaming sphere, since they're technically buying the gaming division of things. That's all now property of Netflix." And she's like, "What the fuck? So does that mean that movies are just going to come out on streaming?" And I'm like, that's the thing. Is like they were very quick to put on the headlines in their statement saying that we're still ironing out those specific terms as far as is a movie going to be like back in when COVID was barely happening, where the movie drops in theaters and on Netflix the same day, or is there going to be a grace period, or what? I remember reading a little blurb saying that Netflix intends on shortening that window. And it's funny because they make it sound like a good thing, but it's difficult for me to divorce that from my casual self from my filmmaker self, and my filmmaker self is feeling louder and is burning harsher and more painfully than my casual self, because that means, what is the fucking point of going to the movies now? It's bad enough that a movie comes out and within a matter of like hours, not even weeks, barely a few days, but within hours, there's posts that spoil something on TikTok and Instagram, even without searching it. And then we have the official like account of whatever that thing is spoiling it, like Warner Brothers or whatever, and a perfect timetable to kind of like, and like I said, this is the example that I used with my girlfriend when I was telling her about how something is going to change in this phasing of things. Is a movie comes out in theaters, and the example that I used was Superman. Oddly enough, since it is a Warner Brothers DC production, Superman came out, what was it, July 11th in theaters? I want to say it was like somewhere in the beginnings to mid-August is when they announced that when they released it on demand. And on demand means you either pay $25 to rent it, which is a stupid-ass price, because only $5 more, $30, you get to buy it digitally. You now have a digital copy that's on your devices at home. And then about 3 or 4 weeks after that, I think it was like I said, beginnings or endings of September, like September 20 something. I remember because I got the email saying that it shipped. The 4K releases of Superman was upon us. The 4K release for Superman that included the 4K disc, the Blu-ray disc, and then of course the Steelbook because I'm a Steelbook guy. And then it was in October that it came to Max. So we had a 4-phase release process of Superman. We had the theaters, on demand, digital on demand, not streaming, but just digital on demand where you have to pay a la carte for the movie on digital. A physical at-home release, so Blu-ray, 4K, and if they're still releasing them, DVD, and then finally streaming. What's going to happen to these two middle parts now with Warner Brothers DC being under Netflix? Are they just going to say fuck them and just be like this? We're terrified that that is in fact the case. And that headline of them saying that, oh, we're going to shorten the window is like, and I remember when this was announced, a lot of people were sharing memes of like Martin Scorsese like in pain, like crying someplace. That scene of him like crying in the background in The Studio, that show with Seth Rogen because he has a cameo on there. People were sharing that, but it made complete total sense. Jason's Electric and Brian Velasco 8571, welcome to stream. Why did they even want to sell? Who's getting all that money? Because I believe Warner Brothers, I think despite, it's ironic because Warner Brothers has actually had a good year in 2025. Weapons, Superman, Sinners, and I know a handful of other movies that came out this year that actually did pretty well. There was like a graphic I saw somewhere, but I don't know where it went. It was like on Facebook or whatever. They had a pretty good year, but I think prior to this year, they've been hurting. Especially with that motherfucking... I'm trying to hold back on words, but that fucking idiot, David Zaslav. I'm ashamed of sharing the same first name as him. But the fucking idiot who canceled like Batgirl and has been doing all those fucking weird decisions. It is definitely, Brian, I agree, it is too early to tell. Like, getting scared of that window disappearing right now is like getting scared that tomorrow we might have the next big earthquake. It's like, well, yeah, it can happen, but what's the point of worrying it right now if we get to tomorrow and then nothing happens? You know what I mean? I get it, but can it still happen? Oh, yeah, absolutely. Could be like 4 a.m. tonight and we get hit with that 7.0 earthquake. Pfft. Probably shouldn't have said that. Did Netflix get the DC toy line rights as well? I don't think, no, because well, I'm sorry, Jason Selector, but think about it this way: does Netflix make toys? No. No, that doesn't make any sense. You're not going to see a Netflix logo on Warner Brothers on DC action figures. The only figures you'll see the Netflix logo on is when the property itself was originally Netflix. So I would say right now the best example of that is Stranger Things action figures, which are made by. I know that there's like action figures going around right now because they're tied into season 5, the current ongoing final season, but I can't remember who's the company that makes them. I think it's Jax. Stranger Things action figures. There we go. It was the they come in like these, the Void series, or is it Bandai? Oh, I guess it's Bandai. Is it Bandai? I thought it was Jax. You know, they're the ones that are like occupying all the Jazzwares. That's why I said Jax. I knew it started with a J. I get Jazzwares and Jax Pacific confused. It was Jazzwares. Yeah, they're the ones that are making the Stranger Things action figures. So obviously you'll see the Netflix logo completely in full display there in the corner, but that's because that's an original property. But with DC, I'm pretty certain that they're still going to have their little contracts with, right now, technically, McFarlane, but I'm pretty sure that later in the future that could swap to Mattel. But is there a possibility that maybe that'll change? I don't know, man. Yeah, like Jason, Brian, you said, it's too early to tell. Oh my god. The only silver lining. Let me go back to that New York Times. Hold on. Who else was part of the bidding war? I mean, I honestly don't care about that since it doesn't really matter now. So, okay. You know what? Let me switch my screen here. Is this the correct? Here we go. Why is it scuffed like that? No. Sure, let's do it that way. Let me increase the text so you guys can read. There we go. That's a perfect one. Bam. Here's the article from New York Times. Real quick. Does this mean Warner Brothers movies won't appear in theaters? My emails. Thanks a lot for showing my emails. I mean, it's just my emails, but it's not my passwords. It's not vital information. Oh, well. I'm no one. Anyways, does this mean Warner Brothers movies? I hate it when I need to double check that sites don't do that anymore. Netflix says no. On Friday, the streaming giant said it planned to maintain Warner Brothers' current operations and build on its strengths, including theatrical releases for films. Maintaining that operations would mean showing some 15 movies a year in theaters. But there are doubts from the TV and film industry. A group of film producers sent a letter to Congress on Thursday, goddamn, stating that they had grave concerns about Netflix's buying Warner Bros. Discovery. The authors of the letter did not sign their names for fear of retaliation. Netflix views any time spent watching a movie in a theater as time not spent on their platform. They have no incentive to support theatrical exhibition, and they have every incentive to kill it. So there's times there's time for everything. Just because I go to the movies to see a movie doesn't mean that I'm not gonna want to come home and stream the latest. Like, there's been days in the past, it hasn't happened recently, but in the past couple of years, there's been occasions where me and my girlfriend went to go see a movie in theaters. Let's actually use this year as an example. Let's go back to Superman. And I remember that night we streamed an episode of a show on Netflix. I'm like, I'm going back to you. Are we really that attention derived that this is their strategy? That it's like, 2 hours for at a movie theater is 2 hours away spent from Netflix. Are we really that fucking sensitive? What does this mean for HBO Max? Good question. Discovery owns HBO, and if the deal goes through, Netflix's roster of shows will expand greatly. This hits includes Friends, and Game of Thrones, The UFR, The Gilded Age, and The White Lotus. Netflix's co-chief executive Greg Peters said in an interview in a conference call that it is quite early, and he did not share exact details on how the HBO Max streaming service would be presented to consumers in the long term. You motherfucker, you're killing HBO Max. Why else would you not say it? In the near term, though, the plan is for HBO and HBO Max to operate as a standalone brand. The fact that you didn't say it, I'm like, nah, I don't believe you. You're going to kill it. You just don't want it to happen right now. But you're going to kill it. Will antitrust regulators react? The fate of the deal is in the hands of federal regulators and will depend on how the Trump administration... Jesus fucking Christ. Defines the market these companies control. Experts say the deal is also expected to face scrutiny from antitrust regulators in Europe. If it fails to get approved, Netflix will be required to pay Warner Bros. A 5% breakup fee. A breakup fee? I didn't know that was a thing. According to documents filed with federal regulators. To me, I interpret the breakup fee as thanks for wasting my time fee. I'm not even joking. That's how I interpret it. The Netflix deal also contains a provision that prevents Warner Bros. Discovery from seeking higher bids from Comcast and Paramount. But if Warner Bros. Discovery decides to cut ties with Netflix and go with another bid, it will pay the streaming giant $2.8 billion according to the documents. And that's it, frankly. Yeah. All right, there you go. And ever so often, I still have friends and even a couple of family members ask me, like, why are you not trying harder to get into the film industry? Because of this fucking reason. Kristen Corbett, welcome to the stream. Do you think that they're doing this because of the increase in pirating? Pirating like the movies in theaters, or pirating on like Netflix? Because that would just increase. This just increases pirating. It's the same thing with the gaming industry, where it's like with uh Xbox increasing Game Pass prices, everybody was starting to almost to an extent almost printing T-shirts like, if you know, buying isn't owning, then pirating is not stealing. I don't think they're connected. I don't know. It's difficult for me to see the correlation. No, it's just greed. I don't think it's pirating. I think it's just greed. Monopolizing. Netflix will make money off the WB licensing from Bugs to Batman to Bogart. Who's Bogart? Also, Richard Mark, welcome to the stream. Netflix has a theater right here in New York City. They took over the Paris Theater on 58th Street. I'm sure they have other brick and mortar theaters all over the country, maybe all over the world. That would probably, I mean, that is like, to almost a naive point, very optimistic wishful thinking that they'll take that, they'll like the first year will be all digital, and then over the course of time they'll start opening Netflix theaters like AMC. Now, you know, you have AMC theaters, or you have Cinemark theaters, Regal theaters, but instead of those names, you'll have Netflix theaters with the Netflix logo, but it'll be like a legit brick and mortar 16 to 20 theater multiplex. I'm like, that would be sick. I'm incredibly dubious, but yeah. I think Bogart is the actor from Casablanca. Yeah, Humphrey Bogart. It's just that it's because he said from Bugs to Batman to Bogart. I'm like, I guess it's because they start with the letter B. Because the first two make sense because they're properties. You know, Bugs Bunny is a brand practically, not even just a character. Batman is a character / IP. Humphrey Bogart, is he a brand? Did he have a contract with Warner Brothers? Cause he might have. I could be wrong, but I think he might have. So technically speaking, all of his movies do go into that package deal, which in that term means, yeah. Motions Zero, welcome to stream. I'm about to get Figma Doomslayer. From which game? The new Dark Ages or the original Eternal? Because I know that, or I think there's like two. Yeah, CM Brown, me neither. I could have sworn that for a little while there, it was a running joke that Netflix was hemorrhaging money. But something tells me that when they laid down the plans for the release schedule of Stranger Things 5, Season 5, there must have been like an uptick in subscriptions to them for them to be like, check it out, and pull this out of nowhere. Eternal, also playing that it's really fun. Nice. Are you planning on playing Dark Ages? Yeah, and that's the thing, is that if they kill HBO Max, part of me wants to say, here's the thing, CM Bronk, I want to be, I had glass half full and think to myself that means that, yeah, that's a subscription service that I can get rid of. But CM Bronk, think about it this way. If they're absorbing all this IP, don't you think that it's not going to cross their brains to simply just raise Netflix's subscription price a month to account for what they're absorbing from HBO Max, taking the HBO Max price and then lumping it into the Netflix one? Again, I really wish I could agree with you, but mark my motherfucking words. That shit, it could be $40 a month. Because right now I think Netflix is like, what, 20 a month or 25 a month or $16 a month with ads or some shit. I can't remember. I just know that I get charged like $22.99 or something like that a month for Netflix. Do you honestly think they're not gonna raise it to like 40, 45 now? If they kill HBO Max and says, hey, all of your DC and Harry Potter and Friends and HBO is now under Netflix and you can find it all there, but now it's $40 a month. At that point, we're gonna have the same exact discussion as we were having with Xbox and Game Pass. They raised the price to $30, but at that point, especially as an adult, especially being in my 30s, I'm like, why bother paying the $30 if you get all these games? Do you even have time to play them? Do you even have the time to consciously be like, I'm going to do nothing, like to extrapolate as much value, especially knowing that some of that shit might disappear and they'll pull it? You might as well just buy whatever it is that you truly in your heart of hearts want to buy / play, in the case of Xbox, and just pay a la carte. I remember, it's funny because that's the first thing I thought of, and then a couple of weeks later, I watched Scott DeWaz's video where he was comparing PS Plus versus Xbox Game Pass after the recent price increase, and he literally said the exact same thing. I felt vindicated. He said the same thing where it's like, at $30 a month, yeah, if you like skirt all of your responsibilities and play nothing but video games all day, yeah, you can get like 20 to 25 games played in that month out of that $30. But look at that. You skirted your responsibilities. You don't go out. You don't go do your job. You don't do this. It's like, it doesn't make tangential sense. Same thing with this Netflix thing. If they like put it all on the same thing, how much are you truly going to binge watch? Now, granted, binge watching a show or binge watching a series of movies is going to be different than trying to play a game that you actually physically have to interact with. I understand that you could probably squeeze a little bit more in there, but it's in principle, it's still the same concept of like, how much are you really going to be able to take in versus simply just going out to your store and buying the 4K set of The Sopranos, the 4K set of all 8 Harry Potter movies. And now you have a physical copy you can keep without worrying about the internet going out or something going wrong with your payment method for your subscription, or them pulling that particular series. I'm not talking about Harry Potter. That's too popular for them to pull. But let's say a particular movie that was made under Warner Brothers, but then they pull it because it's just a lesser obscure indie movie or something. I don't know. It's sort of how telecoms work in Canada. We have some of the most overpriced internet in the world, and it's because there are only 2 options in the subsidiaries. It's like, where else are you going to go? It's the same reason for why people say, why don't you upload your videos on Vimeo so that you have more control over your monetization? And I'm like, because nobody's watching Vimeo. As soon as there's people start showing up at Vimeo in the little millions, sure. But it's fucking YouTube. So we really are starting to approach the time where it's going to be Netflix, Disney Plus, and I almost want to say that's it, and maybe Amazon Prime. Wasn't there like rumors that Amazon Prime was thinking about buying Paramount, which would mean Paramount Plus? I don't know, man. I don't know, but I'm already getting exhausted talking about this. Let's move on. Jesus Christ. I mean, it will bring more people to Netflix out of the deal, so it could mean they just buy more licenses. Yeah, I don't even want to think about that. Good Lord. Hold on. Before I move on to the next topic, let me plug in my phone. Crunchyroll? Sure. As soon as they put Season 3 of Food Wars on there. But yeah, let me plug in my phone just to get an extra little charge here to carry me through the rest of the night. This is the most epic name ever. Welcome to the stream. Sorry, I have to go charge my phone. The Paris is a prestigious single-screen theater in New York with a balcony and everything. Saw American Psycho there last year with the director being interviewed live afterwards. Nice. That was last year? Mary Herron should make more movies. Whenever somebody says like, oh, like, you know, female directors, like, they're barely, like if anybody ever contests me saying that female directors can't be great directors, it's either, the go-to for me is either Catherine Bigelow or Mary Herron, who did American Psycho. Those are the two best examples where I'm like, check it. These two. And there's plenty of others ones. It's just that those are just the first two that come to mind. And Chloe Zhao. And there's definitely a couple of other ones, but I'm going to have to like watch more movies because there's some that I hear are great directors, but I just want to watch more of the movies. Okay. So, with things getting more expensive, especially with these streaming services, and the thing that kind of saddens me the most about like going to the movie theaters and kind of appreciating that cinematic experience is it's just the straw that breaks the camel's back at some point, because we hear this thing about Netflix buying Warner Brothers, and you have people who defend the theatrical experience, rightfully so, because I love the movie theater experience. I love watching movies in the theaters. I consider the movie theater to be my temple, my sanctuary. Or at least I did. I should probably preface by saying I did. Because that's the thing, is that I get depressed when I see like statements by Martin Scorsese and Steven Spielberg and all these filmmakers trying to like preserve the art of cinema by releasing movies in theaters and catering to that cinematic experience, and me wishing that I could support that experience. But then we have the elements of either A, the prices of the movie theaters going up, of movie theater ticket prices going up. Not as fast as gaming experiences or other things, but still going up. But to me, the biggest problem is not so much the movie theater prices, honestly, because at some level I start to understand and go, okay, fine, here's my money, especially if the movie's worth of that experience. It's another to then spend all this money to then play what is essentially Russian roulette at the fact that Jane Campion, all right, there you go, that's another one, yeah, Power of the Dog. Did she do something else recently? I don't know. God, where was I? Sorry. No, but it's one thing to spend all this money on a movie theater ticket price. It's another to then spend that amount of money at what is effectively playing Russian roulette with other people who are probably going to ruin the experience for you inside of that theater. That's my problem. It's not spending the money, but knowing that I'm spending that money and I'm going to sit next to a motherfucker who's either going to be on his phone with a bright-ass screen or loud as fuck or kick up their seat, whatever. Essentially, everything that people started to get used to doing after COVID. Again, COVID just did so much fuckery to the world these days. It really did. You know, when people think of you know how people use BC and AD as like a point on the timeline, like before Christ and after death? I feel like there should be a second one, which is 2020 before BC and AC, before COVID, after COVID. Because shit has not been the same ever since COVID, whether you like it or not. And I feel like social norms and constructs is one of the things that has in fact changed, one of which has rippled into the movie theater experience, where people go in there thinking that they're still at their fucking house and acting like they're still at home. Whether it be being loud, not being able to fucking whisper, using their phones, doing this and that, or even thinking to themselves, fooling themselves into thinking that they're contributing to the cinematic experience by what? By filming clips just so that they can get some likes and comments and data farm on TikTok or Instagram Reels. Instead of paying attention to the fucking movie. Why do I want to contribute to that? Why? Which is why, true story, guys, I have not gone to the movies since Fantastic Four. Which depresses me because since then I've been wanting to watch one battle after another. I wanted to watch Weapons. I wanted to watch Pirate of Badlands and a couple of other movies. But every time I even think about pulling out the Fandango app, I think to myself, I don't want to put myself through that again. I really don't. I have not seen a movie in theaters since Fantastic Four back in July. So we're coming up on 5 months. Almost half a year. Now, it's possible that maybe I'll break that streak in literally the following July of 2026. Because right now, I technically do have, and I can't believe I did this, but it's happened. I got tickets for the IMAX 70mm showing of The Odyssey. I do have tickets for that. I was there when those tickets went live. I remember I was actually out and about at Winkle, but I set myself a timer on my phone. And I was like, holy shit, I nailed it. I got IMAX 70mm tickets for The Odyssey in July. So maybe I'll break that streak then because I'm praying that the people that are going to be in that theater with me are people who generally want to see the movie and want to contribute to that format and that atmosphere. Because it's those kind of people that are probably willing to spend the same amount of money that I did to get those tickets. Which is why sometimes I end up seeing a movie in IMAX, not because I think that the movie deserves the IMAX treatment, but because I know that it's going to, I know this sounds fucked up and sort of classist, but I know that people that are of lesser mindset, who don't like to spend that much, won't be in here with me because they're going to see that IMAX ticket and be like, I'm not paying that, and go someplace else. Good riddance. That's right, Richard. She did do piano. That's right. I feel the same with COVID. Matters have worsened throughout the province of Ontario, leading to a teacher shortage. Jesus Christ. Just the sheer concept of the phrase teacher shortage. What's that a fucking thing? But you're right. Yeah. Like, these teachers are like... and that's another thing, too, is that it's gonna... I feel like it's either about to get worse in the next couple of years, or there's going to be some form of reckoning, because with COVID, we lost manners, lost social constructs, and so many people of my age, of my generation, millennials, we were stuck inside. So with nowhere else to go, and no way to go to work for at least a good, 7 or 8 months, what do you think a lot of couples of my age decided to do while they were stuck inside? I'll give you a hint. Literally last year and the year before that, I would go, throughout 2022, 2023, and then last year, I was going to like Target, Walmart, and all of a sudden, I'm seeing all these couples of about my age, me and my girlfriend's age, and they got the little shit right here. Yeah, calm down, come out. I'm like, you couldn't have fucking wrapped it, couldn't you? Because they had nothing else to do. Stuck inside for 7 to 8 months. Kept it in their fucking pants. And because they're millennials and they think that the internet does a better job of teaching them how to be a parent than their actual parents, right now all I see is a bunch of millennials with these like 3 or 4 year olds. Perfect timing, by the way. Like the kids that they're with, they're like 3 or 4, maybe 5 years oldish, and I'm like, the math is in fact mathin'. If I go back far enough, look at that. 2020. And what is the kid doing? Throwing shit in the aisles or on a tablet. For those of you at home wondering, no, I do not have kids. Still undecided as to whether or not I'm going to have kids. I'm going to the theater too to watch Mortal Kombat in May. That's crazy that we were technically supposed to have Mortal Kombat already, but it got delayed at the last second. I'm like, Richard, out of curiosity, how old are you? You said that you almost got into a fight watching Misery back in 1990? God damn. You saw that in theaters? You wait, speaking of 1990, you came across your very own Max Cady? Now, that's even a little bit before my time. I know about the movie, obviously. I've seen the movie, but I didn't see it in theaters. I saw it, on TV, VHS, or whatever. The earliest movie theater experience that I might have seen that, well, it's very, very faint, but I think one time my parents did take me to a screening. I kid you not. It was a Moonwalker, the Michael Jackson movie, because I remember it being loud when he transforms into a robot and kind of like, kind of jumping in the seat like this, like, what the fuck is going on? I was like 2 or 3 maybe. And then the only other one that is a bit more formulated in my brain is the 98 Godzilla. You're 56? Well, welcome, Richard. Bravo. I'm 34. That's why, like I said, my earliest movie theater experience is somewhere between a very blurry image of Michael Jackson turning into a robot in Moonwalker. When did Moonwalker come out? '88, so it must have been like a re-release that they were put back in theaters, I think. Then maybe it's not Moonwalker. Maybe I'm confusing it with something else. But I remember seeing an aisle of seats and then seeing Michael Jackson. It must have been a re-release. And my parents were like, oh, hey, let's go check it out. Because, yeah, '88. I was born '91, so it must have been like a re-release. Not actually day one. Unless, like I said, I'm confusing it. The only one that I for sure know I did see in theaters and being in the being in the room and looking up like, whoa, what the fuck is that? 98 Godzilla. That one for sure. Moonwalker, it was either a re-release or something. I'm confusing it with a different movie. I'm Mandela affecting. Brian, I'm 17. Brian, enjoy it while you can, man. Please enjoy it while you're literally half my age. So, movie theaters are getting pricey. Cost of living is getting pricey. And then these action figures are getting pricey. And sometimes the cost of the action figures, you try to, like, play devil's advocate and think that maybe it's in due part to, like, the current tariff situation, the market conditions, so to speak. Bringing in plastic and manufacturing from overseas, yada, yada. And then there's times where I just think that it's just some old-fashioned bullshit. It's very difficult to quantify or explain. I'm sorry. Something still does not click either in my gut or in my head. Case in point, McFarlane's announcement of the Batman playset from the animated series. Gold label McFarlane Toy Store exclusive. At a whopping $225 motherfucking dollars. And I remember this was teased, I think that's Sunday, because I think it was unveiled on Monday the 1st. So Sunday evening, November 30th, they teased it with this image. But when I saw the DC Direct logo, that's where I was like, okay, this is like animated series, but it's not true DC Multiverse. So it's not going to be for the 7-inch. It's going to be for those 6-inch smaller figures that they released as like Build-A-Figures or whatever the case. So since I collect a little less of that, and not knowing what the price is, I legit took the gamble and I did not wake up that Monday morning. because these things go up for pre-order at 9 a.m. So I was like, I'm not waking up early. I'm simply just going to wake up at this usual time, about an hour and some change later, like 10:15, around that time. Wake up, and if it's still available for pre-order and reasonably priced, I'll put down a pre-order. Needless to say, I did no such thing, because as soon as I woke up and saw that it was still available for pre-order, it can only mean one thing. This thing is overpriced as fuck for $225. And as you can see, for being a McFarlane Toy Store exclusive, it is in fact still available for pre-order. And I'm trying to see if there's anything to explain as to why it is that it costs that much. Because from what I can tell, it is pretty much plastic and cardboard. But apparently, and it does include a Batman figure. But it's a Batman figure that they've already made, only this time all black instead of, black with the gray. And according to this, it will feature LED light effects and is compatible with existing line of 6-inch figures. Playset exclusive light up Bat computer that includes a full page of stickers to customize your Bat Cave display. Includes Batman's chair, a table, scanner, and cave diorama backdrop. There's pretty much the big picture here. Is there a way to blow this up? You can't. Oh, here we go. Here's the sticker set. And example pictures on how to make it look so you can swap it. But two things. One, they're stickers. So once you apply them, that is it. So it's showing, look, it's showing this picture right here, like the different combinations. Right? But what this effectively means is like, oh, these are the combinations of it. You can mix and match the stickers. But at the same time, I'm over here thinking, you realize that stickers create residue when you try to like replace them and re-put them and redo them again. You might as well like have them be a one and done. And if that's the case, there should have been like swappable plastic pieces that can pop in and out. Especially for the price that you're charging. At $225, this shouldn't be stickers. This should be like actual plastic pieces that you can swap out at will to give it a much firmer sense of customization, because just having the, the chair and pieces of the Bat computer and the printer or whatever the case may be here on the side, I'm going to say it's not enough. And Batman, not only being technically speaking, a color inaccurate Batman, because if this is animated series Batman, he should be gray. I understand that the gray version is a separate figure that's being sold as part of a Build-A-Figure right now, but it should be the gray one. And I'm going to say it, he should have come with Alfred. Because who else is with him in the Batcave? It's Alfred. At $225, you should have included Alfred. He should have been gray instead of all black, instead of being this black variant. And it shouldn't be stickers. It should be plastic pieces that you can swap in and out. Because I can already tell that this background here, that's cardboard. You know what this is reminding me of greatly? It reminded me of greatly is Nintendo Labo, where it's charging all this amount of pricing, and at the end of the day, it's just glorified cardboard. And I'm like, are you kidding me right now? So needless to say that right now, if you were to ask me if I'm picking this up, I will say yeah. When it shows up in Ross. Oh wow, really, Richard? You hated the Scorsese Cape Fear? I kind of like it. But then again, I think I mainly like it because it's De Niro hamming it up with the accent. Yeah, Richard, and with the animated series one, I would say that I would probably be in better standing buying from the actual DC Direct from a few years ago, as opposed to whatever it is that McFarlane has grab on right now because, like I said, I'm looking at this thing and I'm like, I just can't shake the feeling that it's charging that price simply just to compensate something that they're lacking in a different department. Maybe they're not meeting standards elsewhere with like the DC multiverse, or maybe at this point I'm almost at the brink of telling McFarlane like, hey, just cut your losses and stop making sports action figures so that you can at least not have the need to charge in this other things that you know that people want. This other stuff with like Batman, that's Batman related, even if it's DC Direct, maybe you know, because I remember seeing some comments saying, "Oh, I'll pay $200 for it, not $225. $225 to myself." I'm like, $25 is where you put the line? Like, what? This should have been, I'll play some devil's advocate and said, at most, I think this should have been 150. 150. At most. Preferably 125. David, almost half off? Fuck yeah. I'm sorry. Oh, man. I relate, Richard. I've only gotten 4 McFarlane figures, the Penguin, because the show was stellar. I also got the... Wait, what? Oh, yeah. Wait. The recent Penguin show? So you got the 2022 Penguin because of the show that came afterwards? That's curious. I also got the Ben Affleck Batman because that's the one I grew up with. It's all too expensive. Yeah, you have to be really pick and choosy, which is why the McFarlane news that came out of CCXP, I keep wanting to say CCHP because California Highway Patrol. But what came out of CCXP over in Brazil, I gotta be honest, was a little underwhelming because it almost felt like they were being pulled back and more or less restricted on what it was that they could talk about at the convention. Because I have like 1, maybe 2, and not much really came out of it. Like, I was surprised that not a lot more people took photos. But then again, this is Brazil that we're talking about. I don't know if they had like a restriction on what they could come in with, but hopefully I'm able to shed some light here. And it's funny because both of these subreddit posts make it very, very clear that they were not able to get any higher resolution out of these images than what you're going to see before you hear. But in hopes of maybe straying away from the negative attention that Batman Batcave, $225 Batcave was able to accrue, they did have a panel at the Brazilian CCXP convention. And it was during this panel that they have confirmed that 89 Nicholson Joker is coming. Sort of. In this panel that is boasting the McFarlane Toys Collector's Edition branding right there above, along with what appears to be a spring 2026 time window, you have 3D renders. We have to make it abundantly clear that these are in fact 3D renders, and I can kind of tell what the template looks like for 3D renders when they kind of look like this, straight dead on, and have like that sheen on them. They're very obviously 3D renders, and it's 3D renders of Black Canary, which a lot of people were stoked for because they've been wanting a very true, definitive Black Canary, so it's good to see that they're happy with that. The 89, the Joker, or as it's just called here, the Joker, Freddie Freeman, from what I can tell, I think it's from the comics, Freddie Freeman, and then Vigilante. I don't know what this is. I don't know if is this considered to be the same Vigilante from Peacemaker, like an earlier incarnation, or someone completely different. I don't know. It could be. I don't know. I just know that he looks like a cowboy in this version, so it could be that genuine, you know, super early days, golden era or silver era Vigilante. Who knows? I just know that the main talking point out of this entire panel was the Jack Nicholson Joker, which we can tell from the outfit is modeled after the Nicholson Joker from Tim Burton's 1989 Batman, where he's got the very zoot suit inspired aesthetic to his outfit, as far as the very long coat, the super baggy platted out pants, and then what appears to be almost, it's a kind of like I don't know what the actual term of it is, but it's like a bow tie that just happens to also turn into like a bit of an ascot that's kind of drooping in front of his vest here. And then, of course, the fedora. But the other thing to really, really, really point out here is the fact that despite being a very low-res photo, it is, in fact, pretty obvious. Can I zoom in? Yes, I can. Pretty obvious that is not at all Jack Nicholson in the likeness. And it's not, it's a bummer, but it's not at all surprising since after all of the rumors that have been kind of circulating in the space recently are to be believed, and it's looking like we should probably best believe them, is that it's funny because people were saying pending licensor approval. It's like, okay, so we're just waiting on the for him to sign the likeness. It's like, keep waiting because two things. One, as far as we can tell, nothing has changed. He still has either a lockdown on the license, Nicholson's estate, or he technically will license out his likeness. But from what I hear, that price tag on his likeness is so high that not even Hot Toys is willing to pay for it. And what the motivations are for him to charge it so high is still up in the air completely. I don't know if it's because he generally wants that much money, or it's a scare tactic to be like, just get away from me. I don't want me to be made into a figure, but I don't want to just say that, so I'll just make it a really high price tag just to scare them off. Just that, to dare them to do it. Who knows? We'll never know that. And not to sound morbid, but let's just say that he's getting up there in age. We're approaching that time where I don't think we're ever going to find out. So I think the next course of action for McFarlane, especially since their time with the license might be drawing to a close at the end of 2026, they probably thought, fuck it, we're going to lose all momentum. Just put one out that just doesn't look like Nicholson Joker and put it on the branding, inspired by Nicholson Joker, which was actually on those leaks, those documents that were coming out like last month or something like that, which is, funny enough, was one of the topics on my last stream before this one, almost a month to the day. So funny that here we are a month later and Nicholson Joker from McFarlane is still a topic. But here we have actual material 3D renders, and if it makes it onto one of these 3D renders in a panel, in a McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse panel at a convention, it starts to take form and almost becomes kind of a confirmation. And also the second thing I was going to say regarding this little Pender licensing approval label is that notice it's all across the entire image. So this goes for all 4 figures. And they always have to put that by legal means. Every time they have one of these panels, whenever it's in a 3D render, they always have the pending licensor approval label there at the bottom. It never changes. They always have this. So to those that are saying, yeah, we're just waiting on Nicholson Joker to sign up the license, it's like, keep dreaming. It's not going to happen. I got to be honest, this 3D render, I frankly feel like this is what we're going to get. And we're just waiting on the confirmation of what the accessories are going to be, and simply just a closer look at that prototype in terms of like the minute details of the articulation and whatnot. But in terms of like what the suit is going to look like and what the head sculpt is going to look like, I feel like this is going to be it. I do. I don't think anything's going to change. Whoa. Okay then. Back it up here. But yeah, and then apart from, it's funny because for a little while, I really do think that this was going to be it for McFarlane's reveals at CCXP. But there was a different subreddit that was posted yesterday that had more blurry photos that were apparently taken from a video. So credit to whoever this video is. Who is this video? From Atoka do Hobbit, which sounds Portuguese, which I can imagine means that this is a Brazilian collector who was actually there. Cool. From the inside. But I'll just stick to the images here, because in these images we have actual prototypes, not 3D renders, of other figures from the 7-inch DC Multiverse. Gotta be honest, for me personally, nothing that really struck with me, and because of how low res they are, I can barely make out the names. I can only know that this is for sure the Flash. I just don't know where he's from. This is Superman of some kind. Rocket Red, and then I have no idea what these names are. I gotta be honest, I have no idea. Ice? Poor choice of naming there. I was hoping that more Marvel Rivals stuff, more statues from Marvel Rivals with even some alternate suits for Captain America, Jeff the Landshark, the Mighty Thor, Magneto, Doctor Strange. Flash, Eyes, and Zatanna. I don't know who that is. Oh, but speaking of Zatanna, that's what brings me to the second image of more collector's edition, only this time, again, no 3D renders, but actual prototypes. Because you can see that they don't look flat. They actually have like some sheen to them. So, I forget the names of these, but here we have in the middle Professor Pig, which I'm personally looking forward to. And then on the far right, which I'm pretty certain is tickling a lot of people's fancies because they've been looking for this figure for a really long time, Zatanna with Detective Chimp. So Detective Chimp is being kept. But as you can see right here, based on the labeling, collector's edition. So she's no longer an Elite Edition. They did, in fact, go back on that. They did confirm it a couple of McFarlane Toy Show episodes ago that she is now just a collector's edition. So I'm wondering what they had to sacrifice. But hey, thankfully, it looks like they're not getting rid of Detective Chimp. It just makes me think, okay, probably a couple of hand accessories. Or, worst case scenario, what you see right here is it. She might have, like, the wand and the hat be separate pieces, along with Detective Chimp, and then that's it. No alternate hands, no nothing else. Mark my words. And then more Marvel statues from the comics. The Doctor Strange, it kind of looks like that's like first appearance Doctor Strange. Form of a lizard figure, more Spider-Man. It seems like every time a new wave of these statues are announced, there's always a Spidey. For good reason. Juggernaut, which I think is the second Juggernaut, and then a second Gambit. Interesting. Looks Jim Lee inspired. Slated for spring 2026. So again, the big talk of the town, there was more stuff shown, as you can see from some of these photos, but the main talking point was Nicholson Joker. That is in fact material, but it's still in its prototype stage. 3D render stage, which is even earlier than that. But it just seems to all but confirm the notions that a lot of us were having was that there's not going to be a likeness to Nicholson. It's just going to be off-brandish looking one, if I'm being honest. And then really briefly, I also want to talk about Marvel Legends, because theirs was even a little earlier, and I almost want to say a little breezier. Here we go. Because regarding Hasbro had a really lengthy panel, but in that panel, they pretty much tackled everything that Hasbro has a grip on. Marvel, G.I. Joe, and Star Wars. And out of those three, I'm obviously just going to really focus on Marvel. But it'll be a very quick walkthrough since they literally just tackled 3 figures. They revealed 3 figures, all of which were covered by Paternia here back on December 4th, a couple of days ago. Red She-Hulk, which I know that this is like a very sketchy looking photo. I'll have a better photo right now in a little while. What they're calling Spider-Man No Way Home, and a comic book lizard / animated series lizard, but they're calling it the comic lizard. After the panel, there were some official photos of these figures. Now, I'm not going to lie, this comic book lizard did look pretty neat. Neat enough that I told myself if I wake up Saturday, I think it was yesterday morning, and went up for pre-order, and when I woke up, it was gone. Wait, was it yesterday? Or it was either yesterday or Friday morning. It was gone. But then after a few minutes, I checked my Instagram again. Literally, perfect timing. I checked my Instagram, and it was, I think it was Toy Shiz, posted an Instagram story saying, hey, it's back up. And I go over to Amazon, there it was. So I did put down a pre-order for this guy, because he generally did look kind of neat. And I'm like, for $35, I think it was like $35. I'm like, it's not terrible. I simply just don't like that he's an Amazon exclusive again, but can't knock it. It does look pretty solid. And I like the fact that he's got like the alternate, what is it, like the alternate hands, and where's the box image? That was a box image. Where'd it go? Yeah, so you can detach the tail and the alternate head. I think it came with alternate hands. But still, it's a pretty chunky figure. So I was like, all right, this actually does not look too bad. And I think that same morning, they also Yeah, it was December 5th. Yeah, so it was yesterday. That same morning, they launched the pre-orders for both that Spider-Man. Here we go. Spider-Man and Red Hulk. Now, Red Hulk, a Red She-Hulk. I gotta be honest, I didn't even know that there was a Red She-Hulk, so I'm like, okay. But that's Spidey. Good Lord, Marvel. You guys never cease to amaze me. If you couldn't already tell, it's Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man from No Way Home. I don't know what it is that prompted them to do this. I don't know if it was like some kind of licensing deal with they have to put this out. Otherwise, they're not going to be able to make something in the future, which it's me playing devil's advocate because hopefully this means we can get something better in the future. But I'll have you know, I did not care for this Spidey, which is ironic considering I like collecting Spider-Man figures. I cover Spider-Man figures here on the channel. But as soon as this guy was revealed and they said, oh yeah, pre-orders go live this morning, I'm like, yeah, I'd rather get the Lizard. I didn't even bother with this guy. And it looks like a lot of other people didn't because when I checked yesterday morning, like I said, Lizard was gone, but this Spidey was still fully available everywhere. BBTS, I think Entertainment Earth, Amazon, Hasbro Pulse, and for good reason, because it's the Andrew Garfield Spidey without fisted hands, so he only comes with the web shooting hands and then the one fist and one like extending like this, and that's it. No web strands, and to me, the biggest cardinal sin, no Andrew head. And it's funny because I posted about this in a community post and someone was like, oh, because the licensing, they can't include the Andrew head. I'm like, you're not paying attention. They did it before. We had the Andrew head before. Phrasing. Pause. The Andrew head sculpt came with it before. Why did you take it out and are still charging not only the same, but probably even a little bit more, like $2 more, $27.99? You're taking away hands and the Andrew head sculpt? So what's the difference? You brighten the colors. Whoop-de-fucking-do. Not only is it kind of still inaccurate, it's a little too bright. So the original retro card, the original bubble card that came around the time that you released all three Spideys from No Way Home with like the Tobey and the Tom Holland with their... Okay, sorry. I have to walk away. Is everything all right? Yeah, sorry. No, I got a little weirded out. I thought I heard somebody cough. But I'm supposed to be home by myself. Nani? And when I say cough, I don't mean near me. I mean, it kind of sounded next door-ish, but it was loud enough that I'm like, it almost sounded like it was like at the front door. But to be honest, I have been hearing my neighbors coming in and out of the house because it's Saturday night. They always have like a get together or whatever, so it could be just that. But the cough, like like when somebody coughs really loudly, like oh, it sounded like muffled. So I couldn't tell if it was either at the front door here or next door, even though it's very likely next door. But it just reverberated enough that it almost sounded like it was right here at the front door. And I'm like, is there somebody by my house? So I had to go check it out. And I checked it out and there's nobody. Okay. That's why I have the door open right now, just to make sure I can check on everything. CM Brock, you confirmed that it's 150, the original cost? Jesus. Richard, when they inherit, like I said, it's kind of morbid, but not impractical. Where was I? Sorry. Really, really quick, because I want to be able to move on and squeeze, like I said, one or two more topics in here. But going back to Marvel Legends, yeah, they brighten up the colors, which are still technically inaccurate. It's like we can't have the official color should be somewhere kind of in between this and the original, because the original were still a little too dark. Oh, sorry, a little too dark and muted. This is overly bright. The lenses are slightly more correct, but now we're a little too bright blue and too bright red. So I'm like, Jesus Christ, guys. And then we're missing the Andrew head. And again, people were saying, "Oh, it's a licensing thing." It's like they did it before, and their caveat was that the branding on the card for the bubble box, the bubble packaging, was that it said Amazing Spider-Man 2 and not No Way Home. Well, then fuck it, just do that again. But now it looks like we lost the Andrew head so that they can put No Way Home on the box. I mean, look at the box. Hold on, where's the? I just saw the box. Where'd it go? Here we go. So now it officially says Spider-Man No Way Home, the Amazing Spider-Man. I swear to God, if I find out that the only reason why we lost the Andrew head was because you wanted to put that branding and to put it in this fucking box, get fucked, Marvel Legends. Like, little by little, I'm starting to think that maybe going into 2026, some of these companies, I'm going to have to start swearing off and be like, yeah, if you guys don't produce something that is genuinely one of a kind that I know I can't find anywhere else for better, no. I'm taking a stance, and Marvel Legends might be it. Which is why I was partially kind of glad-ish that a Black Friday deal they had recently on a Spider-Man figure that looked kind of neat, but I didn't really want to pay full price for it, actually went down to like $15. But the catch was that the nearest store that had it in stock is about almost an hour from here. And I bought it for pickup, but I never went to pick it up because I kept getting reluctant to do it because it's like an hour away. And I'm like, for a $15 figure, Marvel Legends. And eventually, I kind of convinced myself, I'm like, is it really worth it? Is it really worth it? And by the time I made a firm decision, they canceled my order because it was like 4 days past. And now I'm like, yeah, I'm not even mad about them canceling my order. I think that I'm kind of cool. I'm kind of fine. And after this reveal, I'm like, you know what? Fuck you, Marvel Legends. Not even $15 you guys are willing to get from me. So, yeah, man. I think this might have to be it for me and Marvel Legends, because this, combined with the passive-aggressive nature of Dwight and Dan and the way they talk to their fan base, and then with the sheepiness of the guy who originally left that I was giving the benefit of the doubt, Ryan Ting, who I thought was the cooler one of the three, only to realize that he's also a bit of a roach, unfortunately, because apparently he did an interview with the 5 POA guys a little while back, which I watched in its entirety across like 3 or 4 sittings because it was like a 2.5 hour episode. But I watched totally, and I generally enjoyed it, except for the one criticism that I had, which is that at times Ryan was still kind of cagey about his answers, even though he didn't work at Hasbro anymore. I'm like, you can talk about it, but he kept like reserving information. I'm like, dude, you don't even work there anymore. Why are you so like cagey about it? And then come to find out that apparently they invited him for a second episode, but this time he legit said no, because he's like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to put myself out there. I'm like, really, dude? Like, really? So, yeah. Oh man, oh man. So you can see right now that back to back, McFarlane Toys and Marvel Legends, they're doing things that the cough is coming from inside. um, they're doing things that is definitely depressing, to say the least. Considering that, I'm not feeling like the vibe for like going on hunts anymore. I think recently, me and my girlfriend went to like a Target, and she's like, "Do you have to go to the McFarlane section?" She asked me, "Don't you want to go check out the McFarlane's?" And I'm like, "I'm not looking for anything." She's like, "Oh." She generally felt kind of bad for me because she's like, "Wow, you're not even interested." Wow. But yeah, when they're raising prices on figures that are effectively just repackaged ones with very little incentive to pick it up again, you're taking away instead of adding, whether it be in the form of that Amazing Spider-Man for Marvel Legends or that animated series Batcave for McFarlane Toys. I'm like, what are we talking about here? Combined with the fact that even outside of those two things, you haven't been like announcing anything else. Which at first I thought, and here's the thing, if them being silent was the only factor, then I would literally just say, okay, they're probably cooking. Let's wait and see. The reason why they've been so quiet is probably because they're working on some stuff. Let them work on that stuff. Let them cook, as the kids like to say. But it's difficult to subscribe to that ideal when then they announce a $225 Batcave. $28 for what is effectively the Amazing Spider-Man that I already own, only this time without an Android head sculpt. Why? Like, people are better off going on Mercari or eBay and picking up that original carded Andrew Garfield that with the head, which I would even compliment Hasbro by saying that that's one of the better Andrew Garfield heads, even better than the Mayfix. And you take it away? Make it make sense, motherfuckers. Let me get my phone. Ugh. They definitely got to him. Brian, were you following that? The whole thing with Ryan? I got my Amazing Spider-Man 77, so I'm happy. Wish I had a Nicholas Hammond head sculpt though. You know what's strange? I feel like they could have done it, but they probably cut their losses because they were thinking like, who's gonna want that? Like, nobody's gonna recognize it. Because I failed to see how Nicholas Hammond wouldn't sign off on that. I think he would, but I think Marvel Legends was the one that was like, just make the figure. But I don't know. I don't know what the exact intricacies of that. Actually, before it gets any later, let me pop a water bottle in the freezer because after the stream, I'm actually planning on going to the gym. And I want some chilled water, so let me go do that. Okay. Anyone here watch the new Friday Nights at Freddy's movie? No, I heard it's terrible. Like, I have not heard a single good thing about that movie. Okay. Now, here's the thing. Going back to that moment where we would go to Targets and even my girlfriend would ask me if I'm, like, going to go check out the McFarlanes, and I would resentfully tell her that I'm frankly not really looking for anything, and she would see the disappointment on my face. I would try to combat that resentment a little bit by telling her that effectively what I'm doing now is saving my money and resources for the stuff that's happening overseas, because that's truly where things are beginning to cook. And so to serve as what is effectively going to be my final topic for the evening is Inart showing up at what I believe is pretty much Singapore's Comic-Con. They're pretty much having a convention over there in Singapore. And Inart has, in fact, set up a display. One that I think is still technically ongoing. Let me actually go over to their here we go. Yeah, it's technically still ongoing because it's dated for the 6th to the 7th. So we're still kind of in the midst for it. So don't be surprised if even after the stream, either later on tonight, because we are still talking about Singapore / the Chinese area over there. So we're literally talking about an area that could have an announcement happen tonight, since over there it's going to be the middle of the day. So don't be surprised if I'm missing something during this segment, since it's possible that they might announce either pre-order launches or tease something on the floor that I'm not going to cover here, because I'm mostly going to cover 1/12. I think probably tomorrow they might shed some light on some 1/6 stuff, specifically that Terminator figure that from the first Terminator movie. But in regards to 1/12, we did get some people who are attending the convention take some photos of some really spicy looking stuff here that it's got my nipples hard. Let's put it that way. Let's put it that way, because we got some prototypes here that are looking mighty spicy, and we have actually a good carousel here. I guess we could kind of tease it, kind of start off here with this little teaser image that was posted a couple of days ago, actually, because this was before the floor, I think, was open to the public, of someone who took a photo, or I think it was maybe they themselves, because this is right here at Morphig, but I can't read what this icon says. I want to say it's like the Chinese Instagram or a Chinese social media platform. And from the side profile here, it's confirmed that within the Morphig / 1/12 scale line from Inart, we have most of the usual suspects that they've been teasing for a while, but then a couple of new reveals, specifically as the headline of this post made by Illustrious Key notes, a 1/12 first movie Terminator and a 1/12 Harvey Dent / Two-Face from The Dark Knight right next to Joker over there. Who Joker we've already seen before recently at back in October. I think it was at Wonderfest. So now we have Harvey Dent, Two-Face. And at first I'm like, is that truly? It kind of resembles him. But then only a little while later, yes, it is in fact Harvey Dent, Two-Face. There he is. An initial prototype with no articulation cut into him, but you can see the sculpting is found there, beautifully etched in there. Time will only tell what the paint application is going to look like, but you can see that they also chiseled in the fracturings of the suit, the proportions, etc. So we are getting Harvey Two-Face from The Dark Knight, along with, of course, the Joker, and I believe also teased at Wonderfest that Bane. They're also going to be doing 1/12 Bane, and obviously already up for pre-order is 1/12 Catwoman from Dark Knight Rises. She's already up for pre-order, so go wild. But in this carousel, we also have photos. Actually, let me go to this one. More prototypes of BVS Batman and Superman from BVS respectively. Actually, this is probably the best photo here, along with some close-ups of the BVS Batman by himself and the alternate head sculpts, of which are also going to include an open mouth here. I don't know why that couldn't be a separate mouth plate, but it looks like it might be an alternate head. Although this could just be for presentational purposes. It could be an actual mouth plate you can swap out for, but I guess time will tell whether or not they're going to confirm that. But at least we will get a Ben Affleck head with some loose hair strips there at the front. Hair, tendrils right there at the front on his bangs. From what I know, it's unpainted, but from what I can tell, that is a very good likeness on Ben Affleck. And we've seen the unarticulated, fully painted prototype at the Inart event that I attended during Comic-Con this past summer. But now we have an unpainted but fully articulated prototype. So we have a swap. We're missing the details of the paint, but now we got articulation, proportions, and tooling, along with different head sculpts and accessories here, along with the cape. So it's slowly coming together, but it looks like maybe sometime in, like, I want to pitch summer of 2026, maybe. Pre-orders will go up. Pre-orders, not release. Pre-orders, summer 2026. Release, fall 2026, I would argue. I know it sounds far out, but trust me, when you hit my age, yeah, it's going to go. It's going to go. Same thing for Henry Cavill Superman here, which, again, a swap. Instead of the painted one that we had at San Diego Comic-Con, it's unpainted, but this time he actually does have articulation baked in. Along with, again, really good looking head sculpt, this time with the angry face, which I can imagine is going to have the laser eyes, just like he always does. Yes, absolute Batman prototype. It doesn't look articulated. Looks like it's the standard one that we caught glimpses of back in Wonderfest, but a much closer look. Beautifully well done, but I do understand that they're going for like a different stylized version of the suit that is a little different than what we saw in the comics. But it could be wrong. But it looks like they're going for much more like paneling and armorizing and tendrils and spikes and stuff. So I'll be curious how it's going to end up looking like once it's fully painted and articulated. Going back to this not that one, but this one. Going to the much more fully realized carousel here. Can I not? No, let's click it. Deathstroke. Inart has confirmed that they're doing their very own Deathstroke. This time which we kind of got a glimpse of, painted and articulated at the San Diego Comic-Con event that I attended. If you guys want to check out that video, it's up on the channel. But here we have an unpainted but articulated prototype, so it's kind of strange that this is showing up here. I do like, however, the details of the sculpting, and furthermore, that version that we saw at the San Diego event did not come with the Slade Wilson head sculpt with the eye patch. So that is interesting to note there. Unpainted version of the Dark Knight Returns. So going a little backwards, but we do have alternate head sculpts, the smiling face and the angry yelling face down here at the bottom. Cool. A fully articulated and painted Batman Who Laughs, which begs the question as to whether or not we're going to be seeing him coming up here pretty soon, since, I'll be honest, we've been seeing this guy now for close to about a year and a half, because I saw him at the San Diego event in 2024. Not even the one from this year, 2024. So it's been almost a year and a half since I first got a glimpse of this guy. Again, that video is also up on the channel if you guys want to check it out. Likewise, Red Death, he was there too. So I'm like, all right, it's been a year and a half of this guy. I can only imagine that prototypes are going to be, pre-orders are going to be going up soon. I think this guy's from Wukong. I'm not sure, so I'll be skipping. Steel with the giant hammer. This guy was unveiled at the recent Winterfest, and here we have a closer look that I believe is also an unarticulated prototype, but looks massive. A Wukong, definitely for sure. And I think that's it for this carousel. Whether or not we're going to get more photo dumps from some people who are attending, we'll see. But in the spirit of Inart, let me go back to Inart 112, the subreddit here, because there was another development. So I mentioned that we should be seeing pre-orders go live for that Batman Who Laughs and that Red Death, because like I said, the first time I saw those figures was back in July of 2024 at that San Diego event that they had then, off-site from Comic-Con, that I attended. You know what was also at that event? Arkham Origins Batman. But it looks like finally we'll be seeing something coming out of this particular portrayal of Batman because if the Inart website is to be believed, he is scheduled to go up for pre-order this month. So finally, we'll get official promo photos of a fully painted and articulated Arkham Origins Batman in 1/12 and will be pre-orderable. Hopefully, I mean, we're only a few days into December, where are we, 6th? So I think it would be smart to do this before the holidays, because I believe with the holidays, it gets a little tough to manage logistics. They are a Chinese company, so I understand that the holidays, they don't observe holidays the way that we do. Like, they don't go like on a full Christmas break, but I do understand that what they take seriously is Chinese New Year, which I think it starts at New Year's, but then it lasts for like 2 weeks. So all I'm hoping for is that this thing goes up for pre-order before Chinese New Year. That's it. Because if it doesn't go up by Chinese New Year, then lo and behold, we're looking at like end of January. They just got Catwoman out of the way. It's time for Arkham Origins Batman, which is perfect timing because I literally just beat Arkham Origins for a video that I'm planning on releasing around Christmas time. So the Christmas spirit is in fact high right now for this guy, and it would be perfect timing. Since we're on the subject of like releases and pre-orders, let's briefly talk about a pre-order that is seemingly about to get fulfilled. LPZZ Deathstroke. So Inart is not the only one that's doing a 1/12 scale Deathstroke with fully, premium quality plastic and articulation, as I like to call it, prosumer approach to the development of the figure. LPZZ is not only has been doing their own, but it looks like we're on the cusp of seeing it fully get released. I understand that some people that live over in China already got their hands on some of them, especially people who probably live within the vicinity of the factories and whatnot. But finally, websites such as Toys Metaverse, for which I have a pre-order with them, but also possibly 5K Toys, 1/6 Kit, and anybody else who handles imports such as this, is probably on the cusp of fulfilling orders of their Deathstroke, or at the very least, first batch orders, because somebody screen grabbed this from the official Toys Metaverse Instagram account, where they announced that starting next week, they're going to start releasing and shipping the first batch, quote-unquote, 80 pieces of the Deathstroke. Now, whether or not my pre-order lands in those 80 pieces, I have no idea. Because I went ahead and I looked up last night. I got a little bored, and I was a little bored. I was waiting for something, and I thought to myself, let me look it up. I looked up the date that I put down my pre-order, and then the date that Toys Metaverse announced pre-orders going live for Deathstroke. They announced, funny enough, they announced the pre-orders for Deathstroke on August 13th this year, 2025. My birthday, out of all dates, August 13th. I don't know why I waited for this long. I don't know if I was waiting. Actually, I remember now. I put down my pre-order August 21st. Now, at first I was like, why did I wait so long? But then I realized August 21st, the 21st of the month, I got paid by YouTube. So I was waiting to get paid by YouTube. So I put down my pre-order August 21st, 8 days after they launched pre-orders. So I'm wondering if whether or not my pre-order lands in that first batch. I don't think there's going to be any concrete way of knowing, but I can only hope. And I guess at this point we'll just have to wait and find out. If we reach Friday of next week and I don't get any emails for that invoice, then I can imagine that I'm probably going to end up being second batch. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But it seems like LPZZ/UP Find Yours Deathstroke is upon release, and we'll find out in due time how long it's going to take for us to get some of them here in the States. Brock, welcome to the stream. Buffman. What's Buffman? Yakubian Prophet, welcome to the stream. M. Scampy Picuni. That's a name. Welcome to the stream. Sorry. I was going on some tangents, so I wasn't looking at the chat. Ugh, excuse me. I hope Mattel is going to up their DC game. They did okay before McFarlane, but they definitely can't produce the same old thing. The little benefit of the doubt that I'll give Mattel is that their wrestling figures are actually pretty cool. Ever so often, I look at some of those Attitude Era figures like Stone Cold and Classic Rock, if you will, Classic The Rock, Undertaker, and I'm like, they look kind of cool. So if they could do like a Batman in this style, hey, in this quality, Brian Velasco, are these figures 6-inch? If you're talking about the Inart and LPZZ, they're in 1/12th. They're in 1/12th. And 1/12th is intended to be 6 inches. But the only reason for why I have to use my wording carefully and say intended is because I own the Christian Bale Inart 1/12 scale Dark Knight Rises Batman, and I have the LPZZ Arkham Knight Batman. I can honestly say that even though they're both meant to be 1/12th, the Arkham Knight Batman from LPZZ is, for some reason, a little taller than Christian Bale, but at the same time, I can't tell if it's a scaling problem or it's technically in-universe accurate, since Rocksteady has always intended their Batman to be like a towering beefcake. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, I feel like we need another figure from both of these companies to truly say they got their scaling a little weird, or if it's simply just an in-universe thing. Because Christian Bale Batman is supposed to be modeled after Christian Bale the actor, whereas the LPZZ Arkham Knight Batman is modeled after a video game portrayal of Batman / Bruce Wayne that is supposed to be a little... Keep in mind, we're dealing with the Batman that lives in a universe where Clayface exists and Titan Joker exists. So it's like, you know, truly to scale are these guys really supposed to be? You know what I'm saying? So I feel like we need one more figure out of both of these companies to truly know exactly. Mattel needs to make better figures, and I don't really hope for that given their current lines. Yeah, but like I said, the wrestling stuff doesn't look too bad, but I don't know if that's just me. Oh, and Brian, you say, I like the Lego Deathstroke they made back in 2016. That reminds me, we're technically are getting another Arkham game. It just happens to be in called Lego Batman. What was it? Legacy something. I can't remember what it was called. But yeah, that new Lego Batman game. Brock, it's funny. I'm reading your comment where you said Mattel better make the founding members and with good articulation. And I don't know what it is, but something in my brain just also went. Speaking of the term founding members, we also have to consider the fact that the people working at Mattel back then are also not the same people who are working at Mattel now. That could be either for the better or for the worse. So we're only going to have to find out until we start to see like prototypes of whatever it is that they're working on. Probably right now. They might be working on it right now. McFarlane even hinted that, hey, Mattel still needs time to develop those prototypes for that first wave. They need to have like product. So when they reveal their first figures, it's going to be like a good like 20 of them. Well, maybe not 20. That might be too much. 10 to 15. Legacy of the Dark Knight. Yeah, you're right, Brian. All right, guys. I really wanted to tackle that last topic, but it's already getting a little later than I was supposed to be. And like I said, I need to kick up my stream stamina because it's been a while since I've done this. So, but at the same time, it's getting late. I wanted to hit up the gym real quick, and I also want to finish up the finishing touches on a video that I'm gonna leave rendering while I go to the gym, and I will be uploading and publishing tomorrow. Actually, I'll be publishing a new video tomorrow. That's actually kind of Hot Toys related, but I do think it's kind of interesting. But also a testament to where we're at right now. A good chunk of the next few videos you'll be seeing this month are more so Hot Toys related rather than McFarlane or Marvel Legends, because there's been nothing to really make videos on regarding them. It's all primarily, like I said, Hot Toys or maybe SH Figure Arts, but apart from that, and like I said, I am planning on doing a Christmas retrospective of sorts on Arkham Origins, since I just recently played it. And your boy actually got invited to the Marvel Tokon beta, which I played earlier today, and I'm going to be playing some more tonight and a little bit tomorrow. Oh, shit. Oh, well. Yeah, I'm going to be playing it a little bit tonight and a little bit more tomorrow, and hopefully going to film a very quick 10 to 15 minute impressions video on that, and hopefully upload it sometime later this week of kind of my impressions on Marvel Tokon and how I'm feeling about it. But yeah, so I do have plans for content, but it's just not the traditional stuff that I usually do because they've been kind of slow. They've been kind of lagging it. So we're in a very strange time period where, like I said, Netflix is buying Warner Brothers / DC, and somebody posted a meme that is right now a meme, but I shudder at the fact that it could become reality, which is that somebody posted, Superman, Man of Tomorrow in theaters July 9th. On Netflix, July 16th. I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ. And it showed like Superman with like this face, like that. From the new James Gunn Superman. So I'm like, Christ. And I think I saw another meme from like Succession where Kieran Culkin's character is crashing out, and the caption says, trying to watch the Batman Part 2, and I have to hear that stupid ass Netflix ta-dum. Oh, man. Oh, my Lord. I definitely do want to see more Gorilla Grodd representation in, like, the MCU. I feel like Gorilla Grodd is kind of slept on, which is why I was a little disappointed to see that. If you guys have seen Peacemaker Season 1 and realizing that wasn't Gorilla Grodd, I was like, oh, I think it would have been cool if that was Gorilla Grodd, but it wasn't. It was just a literal random gorilla. Fuck. Oh, man. Yeah, like I said, I'm starting to lose my voice, and I technically do still want to film content tomorrow, so I want to make sure I don't strep my throat out tomorrow. But yeah, this was good. This was good. I enjoyed this. This was definitely the right way. This was the way of what I wanted to do with the time that I had, and taking advantage of having the house to myself. I enjoyed the stream. I enjoyed it, and like I said, I finally managed to tackle those subjects that have been nagging at my brain now for a while, as far as like the recent Netflix stuff, to what McFarlane's been doing with their choices, to Marvel Legends, and then of course the ongoing stuff that's happening right now at SGCC, I think it's called, the Singapore Comic Con with Inart. And like I said, that one is still currently developing. God only knows if I wake up tomorrow and on their Facebook accounts and on Reddit, I see images of 1/6 Batfleck, because I know that they're working on a 1/6 scale BVS Batfleck Even though they've announced it now for like years, supposedly they're working on a Christian Bale 1/6 Batman, but that one is still being R&D'd on. So I'm like, where was that guy? I know that the BVS Batflick was shown off at Wonderfest a little while ago, so hopefully they'll have a closer look at Singapore Comic Con, but only time will tell. Netflix showed Fubar at the Paris Theater with an Arnold Schwarzenegger Film Festival. They have no shame. I don't know, man. But like I said, all I have to do is just wave my hand whenever somebody asks me what happened to my aspirations of being a filmmaker. Because for those of you who don't know, ever since I've been like 14 or 15, I wanted to be a filmmaker. I wanted to be a writer-director and follow in the steps of like Nolan and all these different filmmakers. But it's literally been the past few years that have legitimately kind of killed my enthusiasm for wanting to do that. Not because I don't feel it anymore. I generally still want to be a filmmaker. But when I look at what the industry is considering viable versus what is unviable, I'm like, do I really want to be a part of that? I'm like, shit. You know? So yeah, all right. I'm out of here, guys. I'm out of here. It's getting late, and like I said, I oh my god, Big Rib, why are you showing up at the end, man? Damn it. Yeah, Brian. The I haven't had a job since 2023. And not for lack of trying. I've been applying. I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with the chicken place, the chicken chain, Raising Cane's. You guys are familiar with Raising Cane's? A new Raising Cane's opened here where I live. About a month or so ago, they were taking applications. They were hiring. I applied. Rejected. Why? And that's a rhetorical question. I know why. Because you guys don't want educated college graduates with degrees that could easily start asking for full-time benefits and higher pay rates. You want moppy-haired Edgar, who just graduated from high school and just wants a paycheck for the weekends that he could spend at the mall while filming TikToks. That's what you want. And all you have to pay him is part-time, and he'll shut up. Big Rip, you're at work? Hold on to that job, man. I've been hearing, like I said, I've been watching these videos where people have come forward with evidence that, yeah, if you have a job right now, no matter how shitty the job is, hold on to it. Hold on to it. Because it's like, if you lose it, you might not even get back into the market again. We're not talking about that specific job. We're talking about any job. It's like, it's over. Unless you have a very specific set of skills, it's over. And like somebody here mentioned, bringing up AI, it's like, yeah, these companies are like, why would I pay someone? Let's just let AI handle it. Pepe Instigator, welcome to the stream. And even though you're coming here towards the very end. Today I got rejected from Walmart. I feel you. Yeah. I think a little while further back, I think it was during the summer. I think it was like in August or September. I applied to be a dishwasher at a nearby Chili's or Applebee's. It was one of those two. No, it was BJ. No, it was Applebee's. It was dishwasher. I'm one of the few people that will publicly admit to liking washing dishes. Not necessarily because I physically enjoy washing dishes, but because I find it kind of therapeutic of like the momentum, clean, rinse, rack, and then as I gain this momentum, I start to like disappear from the activity. I'm still like washing, but in my brain I'm like start like thinking of like ideas. I'm like thinking of what I need to film, what I'm gonna like do, plan ahead, and I just kind of zen out. I applied to be a dishwasher at Applebee's. I got rejected by the end of the week. Why? I don't know. That was my goal too. I actually got to work at WB for a few months in dozens. They crushed me. Jeez. What do you mean they crushed you? I was going to leave a little earlier now, but one of the reasons why I was going to leave a little earlier is because I was going to drop off something at my girlfriend's place, but it turns out my girlfriend's not home, so I'm sparing a few more minutes before I actually take off. Because honestly, I'm just going to go to the gym and then straight come right back. That's another thing too, is the fucking gas prices. I'm like, all right, I'm literally just going to go to the gym and then come back. I'm not even going to go anywhere. I don't have the need to go anywhere, so leaving it alone. Chin up, David. Yeah, I mean, recently, one of the other reasons, this is the most epic name ever, dude. You'd realize that I have OBS open and I can see myself behind me without having to turn. You post that comment again, I'm timing you out, man. All right? Okay? You want to play stupid games, we'll play stupid prices, yeah? Anyways. Before I got derailed there. Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons for why I'm trying to get so many Hot Toys related videos is because some of those Hot Toys figures I'm probably going to end up having to sell. Because, you know, even though the channel is monetized, it's not monetized to the extent of being full-time. It's like, it pulls in a decent chunk of change to at least ward off like a phone bill or anything like that. But to live off of, no. So unless in 2026 I'm able to go full-time in some ways, it's like you have to start prioritizing, which is why I'm like, if I have to like give something up, it will probably be 1/6 scale Hot Toys collecting, and be like, all right, no more Hot Toys. Even with Inart, despite them possibly making a Christian Bale Inart 1/6, as beautiful as that thing may turn out to be, just keep it to 1/12, 1/12, 1/12, 1/12. Don't do 1/6. It's too expensive, too hard to keep track. Too many boxes, taking up space in my storage unit. I'm like, yeah. So that makes the most sense to start parting with, so that it'll make it depending on the figure, of course. There's some figures that I know for a fact I won't be able to like get rid of because it's like it doesn't really sell that quickly. But case in point, I'm trying my best not to do it. But if worst comes to worst, I might have to sell the Hot Toys Bane that I have. And this is the 2.0 Bane. And to gauge the market, I went on Mercari and I turned on a notification for when somebody lists a Hot Toys Bane. I kid you not, swear to God, a couple of times, someone listed a Hot Toys Bane for like $500 or $600, which is almost twice as much as what the MSRP was. Market value. The next day, it's sold at that price, $600. I was like, is that really how much people want it? Shit. But let's just say I cracked it open recently and I went and filmed a video on it. And no spoilers on the video, but all I'm going to say is that I understand why people are willing to pay $600 for it. So that's why I'm like, worst comes to worst, I'll have to part with it. But right now, if you ask me if I want to sell that Hot Toys Bane, I don't. I generally do want to keep that because I can see why people are paying 2 to 2.5 more times MSRP for that Hot Toys Bane, because I'm like, shit. Despite some grievances that I do have with the figure, I'm like, shit. Brian, let's just say that where I live, it's a literal health risk if I try to do Uber. I mean, I know that you can technically say that about anywhere, but it just gets magnified where I live. Let's put it that way. They crushed my spirit. Well, Richard, what do you mean by that? Like long work hours, too many tasks, or it's just the business was just not what you were expecting? Which I guess also kind of which also kind of made me think of one little, like I said, very wishful thinking and slightly naive silver lining that I thought of when I was talking about the whole Netflix deal with my girlfriend yesterday. Was that the only silver lining is that maybe the way Netflix goes about producing projects and taking in scripts, because I hear that they had a bit of a flexible way of like producing a script, like submitting a script and getting it seen by an agent and having it be materialized. If they can maybe streamline that process to okay. Yeah, I'm just hoping that it could streamline the process of maybe like submitting a script towards the Warner Brother division of things, the way that they do it at the Netflix side of things. But again, that's being naive and wishful thinking. I highly doubt that. It'll be cool, but I'm doubting it. Yeah, I think that's my cue to leave. If you guys are posting that stuff in the chat, I'm out of here. All right, so Brian, Brock, Richard, uh, Jason's Electric, Pepe Instigator, Big Rib. Even though you came in here towards the end, I'm sorry, man, but thank you for joining. Who else was here? Yakubian Prophet. Scapi Picuno, CM Bronk. Who else was here? Motions Zero. Got quite a few chats. Hugo Giovanni, Christian Corbett, and anybody else who chatted and also lurked behind the scenes. Thank you guys for tuning in. Like I said, I'm gonna go ahead and now hit the gym, and where's the button here? Not that one. Yeah. That took care of that. Anyways, thank you guys for, hopefully that sends a message. And thank you guys for tuning into the stream, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. I don't know when it'll be because, like I said, the last time I streamed was almost about a month ago. But that's only because, not because I didn't want to, but because I wanted genuine topics to kind of bank in and talk about. And finally that happened here. Took advantage of the house being by myself here. So we'll see how the week develops to see if anything comes out of this whole Netflix deal, if Inart shows off some more stuff, and also if, like I said, there's developments on that LPZZ Deathstroke finally shipping for my pre-order. If Inart makes, like I said, some more announcements regarding the 112 stuff, the 16 stuff, if maybe like some third-party stuff starts to come to pass, because I hear that some other pre-orders that I have at Toys Metaverse is also slated for this month, so we'll see. But until that happens, look out for other content going up on the channel, whether it be in long form or as shorts. And until then, guys, take care, stay humble, and I'll see you later. Peace.